Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned the truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahushai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahushai. And pretty much, man, this video is going to be about patience, and that's one of the things you should be praying to the Lord for. Give me more patience to deal with specific scenarios, things that are new to me that I never experienced before. When I'm actually in the situation, and even while in the situation, pray to the Lord first, and then go to, the brotherhood second. All right, because you can't be alone in this thing at all. You need help. You need help. And the thing is too, on the flip side, you have men that's called into the truth and they're not chosen. And the scary thing about being in the truth is you can have people that you once look up to that's not in the camp no more. They could have been your friends. They could even be your family member, like an older brother. And the Lord take the spirit from them. Now they unbelievers. They in the world. They're going to be a part of the lake of fire, right? So you got men that's been called into the truth, but they're not chosen. So that's a scary thing to do. You be in the camp for a month, 5 months, 10 months, a year, a few years. Next thing you know, you approach at 10 years. You do all them years, and then you just quit one day. The Lord predestined your future to be like that. That's why you think how you think. So, this truth is scary, man. You want to have patience long term. You want to be fully persuaded in your own mind, and you want to be assured of the things you learn. So now, let's get into it. So, this is Luke chapter 21 and verse 19. One of my favorites. It says, "In your patience possess ye your souls." Now let's go into this word patience in the Greek.
Strong's G 5281. Hupamane.
Harmony, right? Let's go down here. It says cheerful or hopeful, which is synonyms of having faith, right? Endurance. Yeah, you want to have endurance, right? If you have endurance, you got stamina, and then you're going to be good at what you do. It says constancy. You have to be consistent being in the truth, offering no spiritual sacrifice, making your body a living sacrifice in the form of what? Having the street ministry, being charitable to the brotherhood, ultimately being diligent, spreading forth the correct gospel and doctrine that's going to make the elect of the nation of Israel wise unto salvation. You have to be consistent. You have to consistently be praying before you do anything, all right? Prayer is key. And in order for you to pray, you got to know the name of Yahweh and Yahushai, all right? The God of Israel and the Messiah. It says enduring, patience, patient continuance, waiting. You have to wait on the Lord, all right? You got to wait on these prophecies. You got to link up the current events with the Bible prophecies to understand the time period you're in so you can measure it. And that's comforting to know that Yahushua is getting ready to come back. But you have men that's in this truth and they're doubting the Lord. They've been doubting the Lord for years. Because, the Lord, he could take the spirit from a dude instantly, but it starts with the seed of doubt. Once you start doubting Yahweh and Yahushua, it's just a matter of time. Let's go down here. Outline of biblical usage, right? It says steadfastness, constancy, endurance. In the New Testament, the characteristics of a man, right, Israelite man, who is not sobered from the deliberate purpose. And what's the deliberate purpose? To keep the faith unto the end, to spread forth the correct gospel and doctrine unto death, no matter if I got to deal with financial problems, persecution, suffering wrongfully, no matter what it is, betrayal, right? It says that's the deliberate purpose. It says, and his loyalty to faith and piety by even the greatest trials and suffering. So patience is synonymous with suffering. So you're going to go through trials and tribulations. you're going to have your spiritual lows. It says, patiently and steadfastly, a patient, meaning a waiting man, right? And then when you're going through your trials and tribulations, you have to wait upon Yahweh, through Yahweh to deliver you out of that tribulation. So you have to wait. It says, a patient, steadfast, waiting for, you have to wait for these prophecies to come to pass. Remember, we on Yahweh's timing. We're not on our own timing. We don't got power. Remember what Deuteronomy 28 says, there shall be no might in thy hand. Plus we're sons. Remember, that's the heavenly Father. We on his time, right? It says a patient endurance, sustaining perseverance. So Luke 21:19, and your patience possess ye your soul. So when you catching hell, you going through your trial of tribulation, you being challenged to display your faith on earth. So you can't allow the trial of tribulation, to overcome you. That's why you have to pray and go to the brotherhood, right? So that's it with that. Now, this is Romans chapter 8 and verse, whole chapter good. I'll read 24. Point is in 25. It says, for we, the elect of the nation of Israel, are saved by hope, right? And ultimately the ones that have the gift of faith, which involves hope through the blood and sacrifice of Yahweh, is the elect of the nation of Israel. Hope is synonymous with what? Faith, right? And that goes back to predestination. It says, but hope, let's go into this word hope. Let me let the word play.
Strong's G 1680, El Peace. El Peace.
Okay. It says, to anticipate, usually with pleasure, expectation, extractly or concretely, or confidence, faith, hope. Yep. It's synonymous with one another. You can't have faith without hope. You can't have hope without faith. It says, expectation of evil, fear. Let's go down here. Yep. Expectation of good, hope. In the Christian sense, which we know according to Acts, the 6th and the 11th chapter, the Christians that followed the Messiah, it wasn't all nations that converted to Christianity. Christianity wasn't a religion. It wasn't spoken about, all right? The Christians were the Jews that followed the Messiah. And then ultimately, it would be applied to all the tribes that believe and had hope and faith in the Messiah. Those are the real Christians. You can only be a Christian if you're an Israelite. It goes on to say, because you got to come from the seed of the promise. If you're not a part of the seed of the promise, then the Lord is going to give you the same answer he gave the Samaritan woman. It goes on to say, joyful and confident expectation of eternal salvation on hope, in hope, having hope. The author of hope, or he is its foundation, right? Yahweh, chief cornerstone, the thing hoped for, all right? So you got to have hope. You got to have faith. Do you really believe in everything you reading and everything that you're experiencing? Do you believe that the Most High gonna live up to his name, which is he is? Do you believe that one day you're gonna have immortality, you're gonna receive salvation? Babylon the Great gonna be destroyed. Do you really believe in that? Do you really think so-called UFOs, which is the chariots of Israel, gonna deliver you? Do you believe that you one of the members of the elect of the nation of Israel? Do you really think these prophecies is going to come to pass in your lifetime? You gotta think about this type of stuff. These dudes, they're not fully persuaded. They join the camp, they start their own camps. You're not being logical, you're not being realistic, you're not analyzing nothing. The scriptures say you got to examine yourself. So everything you being taught, do you really think that this is the truth? It goes on to say, Romans 8:24, continuing on, that is seen as not hope. Yeah, so if you can see something, what's the point of having faith in it when it's right there? It says, for what a man seeth, why doeth he yet hope for it? Yeah, because why would you hope for something if it's right there? It says, but if we hope that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it, right? Now let's see what the I want to see what the NLT say. This is Romans 8:24. It says, we were given this hope when we were saved. If we already have something, we don't need hope for it. Exactly. But if we look forward to something we don't have yet, right? That's a perfect way to put it. Let me read that again. Romans 8:25 NLT. But if we look forward to something we don't yet have, we must wait patiently and confidently. So a lot of dudes, they don't have confidence in Yahweh and Yahushua, that he's going to do everything that he said he's going to do with everything I just named. NLT, Romans 12:11. Never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. And a lot of dudes, they're not, you know, they don't really understand what they're a part of. They're not really built for the suffering. They're not praying to the Lord. You know, they just think that joining the camp is just a hangout. You know, maybe they need friends, or maybe they're getting the type of clout that they never got in the world because they were losers, and now, you know, they start their own camp, or they're in the camp, and now maybe they may have, you know, spiritual clout in which the Lord is just using you to spread His word. That's it. You know, we're not doing shit, because it goes back to predestination at the end of the day. You know, but a lot of people not enthusiastic about serving the Lord. You know, you can hear it like when they speak. You know, the lessons, if they do lessons, right? So, you know, make sure you're enthusiastic about serving the Lord. It says, rejoice in our confident hope, be patient in trouble, and keep on praying. So that's what you got to do. You got to pray first. The moment you're in the trial or tribulation, you have to pray, period. This is Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7. It says, be not deceived, the Most High is not mocked. For whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall reap of the flesh. And that could be anything. Farming, how many hours you work on a job, whatever it is that you're trying to study to be the best at. If you spend enough time on it, you know, you're going to reap the benefits, because you're putting in effort, you're putting in work to be better, right? The same thing applies to the truth in the form of what? Studying. It goes on to say, it says, I'll read it again. Galatians 6:7, be not deceived, the Most High is not mocked. For whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. Yeah, because it's gone 1 minute, and then you have it one moment, and then it's gone the next, right? It can be taken from you, even your own life. So that's corruption, because it's not everlasting, right? See, what Yahushua is promising us is immortality. You know, something that's everlasting kingdom, never to die again. Being under the new covenant is impossible to sin. Like, that's something to hope in. That's something to look forward to. You know, nothing in this world can offer you immortality. You enjoy it for a little bit, and then it could be taken from you. You know, you could be in prison, or you could just be dead, right? It says, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. So you a person that's dedicated to the truth. You ain't never missed camp. You do your videos. You following the camp standards. Then, hey man, you gonna be blessed real soon. It says, and let us not be weary in well doing, right? Spreading this gospel all the years we put in being in this truth, right? It says, for in due season, when Yahushua come back, that's the due season, we shall reap if we not faint. Now let's read that in the NLT version, right? Yeah, let's read that in the NLT. It's a lot. This is Galatians 6 and 7. It says, don't be misled. You cannot mock the justice of the Most High, because the Most High going to do what he said he going to do. That's written in the scriptures. You will always harvest what you plant. Those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from their sinful nature, right? Selling out to this world, being a hireling, right? Being Masonic, being under 501c3 charter, rejecting the Lord, putting all your time and effort into a carnal job and making money, then putting time into serving Yahweh and Yahushua. Because that's another thing, being in the truth, your time management, right? See, the older you get in the truth, you gotta manage your time, right? You gotta continue to put the Lord first. Even if you have a family, you know, you just got a new job position, it don't matter. You still got to put the Lord first, like how you did day one when you came in the truth. It says, but those who live to please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit, like the apostles of Great Millstone on down, right? So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up, because Yahushua is going to reward us. But we got to endure to the end to get the reward. This is Numbers 23:19, KJV. It says, the Most High is not a man that he shall lie, because men make promises that they can't keep, right? Men are liars. It says, neither the Son of Man, right? So neither Yahushua. So just as Yahweh can't lie, he's perfect, Yahushua doesn't lie, he's perfect. It says, neither the Son of Man that he should repent, and he got to go back on what he say, because whatever he said and whatever he promised, he going to do it. Whether people won't believe it or not, whether they lose patience, hope, and faith or not. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? He going to make his nation good, all right? Yahushua was resurrected after the third day. That's for our benefit. All we got to do is just endure to the end, so that we could be resurrected as well, be beamed up into those ships, all right? Be into that new covenant where we can enjoy life at its fullest. Right now, we're not living, right? NLT version. This is Numbers 23:19. It says, the Most High is not a man, so he does not lie. He is not human, so he does not change his mind. Has he ever spoken and failed to act? Has he ever promised and not carried it through? Come on, man. That was beautiful. Revelation 22:12, it says, and behold, I come quickly. That's Yahushua speaking. And my reward, salvation, right? Now, if you were part of the elect, when you get beamed up into the so-called UFOs, that's us stepping into the new covenant, which involves immortality, being perfect, being God-like. We're going to be gods, all right? Anything you imagine, you can make it come to pass. You know, you're not going to sin. You're not going to have the mind to sin. You're going to implement the law, statutes, and commandments. I mean, come on, man. Like, this reward is worth it. Rule over the heathen. I can get whatever I want, you know? We men, so no more dry nights. I mean, like, come on, there's so much shit to look out, to look forward to. No more westernization. Like, this is ridiculous. Anyways, it says, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man, right, according as his work shall be. Exactly. So if you did time in the truth, and then you leave the truth, you're not going to be rewarded, because you didn't endure unto the end, so that you could be saved. You quit. You turned around. You left us out there to die. And I'm talking about, you know, ex-members that used to be in camps, or just guys in general that used to teach, and now they don't teach no more. All right? You left the sheep to die, to get stabbed up in a war. That's what you did. The Yahushua going to beat your ass when he come back. This is Revelation 14 and verse 12. It says, here is the patience of the saints. We know the saints is the Israelites, and patience is synonymous with what? Suffering. So we was being patient even during a time of affliction. Why? Because of Yahushua's blood and sacrifice, to have the gift of faith to endure whatever we had to endure, especially the hour of temptation that's coming up. It goes on to say, here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahushua. So you need the faith of Yahushua. So that's pretty much it. You know, Lord willing, you was edified by the lesson. Shalom.